All right, so last thing are emulsions. So emulsions are defined as a colloid of two immiscible liquids. Right, so kind of like oil and water, you shake them up, they'll mix for a little bit, but long term, they're not stable. Right, they'll separate back out unless you have something known as an emulsifying agent. And so an emulsifying agent is a substance that keeps emulsions from separating. So a very common example of this is soap. So if you add some soap, you can get water and oil to mix. Right, and so what's the properties of these emulsifying agents that they can do this cool stuff? And it's the main property is that they're amphiphilic. Right? And so what this means is that they have a hydrophobic, which we know is water hating, and it's water hating because it's non-polar and water is very polar. So they have a hydrophobic and a hydrophilic, right? Water loving, we know that's polar since water is polar. And so they have one of each of these ends, right? And so an example of these guys is something like soap, as we previously said, and cell membranes as well. So there's a picture of that, right? You see the hydrophobic and the hydrophilic end, right? And so the hydrophobic part is going to attract the non-polar side. The hydrophilic is going to attract the polar side or the water side, and it'll allow the two to mix. The final thing that this little picture shows, it's not that important of a fact, but it's a cool little fun fact, is that these micelles, these formations of these amphiphilic compounds, often have a slight charge around them. And so that's what keeps them from kind of grouping together, right? So as you can see in this text down here, it says the micelles do not coalesce, they don't group together because the charged surface of one micelle repels the charged surface of the other. Another way this is useful is to purify air. So you can have a little static charge on some kind of piece of metal, and then if you let some soot through it, it'll stick to this side, right? And then you can have some nice clean air go out to the other side. So that's how some of those kind of metal air purifiers work. They have a slight charge around them, which attracts kind of the soot and the smoke and the gunk in the air and thus removes it.